that I think we're open to looking at, in a deep way with everybody that is interested and concerned about the future of neighborhood councils. And I would say that these were the ones that we need really deep, insight, feedback, thought about. And they are ones that are 1, 2, 3. So first one is, what are neighborhood councils? Are they a part of the city? Are they a city entity, or are they a nascent nonprofit? And they all have completely separate sort of legal implications, completely separate. I don't think we're going to answer it one way or the other, but how we provide support to neighborhood councils will be informed by how we prioritize the answer to that question. Are they, a branch of the city? Are they a nascent nonprofit? I think that is a fundamental question, which I think, at some level we all have to think about, weigh in on 10 years into this process. We've looked at it a number of different ways. The second question, which is kind of a through line of the discussion, I've been a participant, I've been an observer of the love affair between Dunn and the neighborhood councils for 5 years, right?
It's strange.
Yeah, it's a strained relationship. And, anybody here that's, says that we have to protect the status quo about the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, I think is not being fully, straightforward about the complexities of how a group of civil servants, with all of the bureaucratic rules that are placed on those civil servants, can provide the kind of support to the startup organizations and the mature organizations that are now throughout the city of Los Angeles in the neighborhood council system and structure. Right? So, I guess the through line for me there is that I think status quo is not, a great solution to the kind of way in which neighborhood councils are supported by the city. And you have the idea of a basic internal contradiction, which is the city wants neighborhood councils, but also doesn't want neighborhood councils, right? If we're honest, with each other, right? And so the city provides funding for neighborhood councils, but with huge bureaucratic rules because of the existence of the city attorney's office and the controller's office and the way in which all these resources play out. But we do have experiences in working with the nonprofit community, right? And those nonprofits, actually, a fair number of them incubate our fiscal agents for other nonprofits, right? And so we have, leverage over some of those nonprofits to make sure that they really will step up and provide the check in 5 days, so that we're in an era where we no longer are going to have petty cash. I do have a pretty clear sense that that's the story. Even though there's a lot of petty cash out there and a lot of checking accounts using petty cash still out there, right? We are not going to be in a position to have petty cash in the future, right? And as a result of that, if you want somebody to participate and be able to buy the food for your meeting, and rather than waiting 5 weeks to get a demand warrant, or however long it's going to take, if they can go to the local nonprofit and get a check to reimburse them in 5 days, that is a increased level of support for how it is that neighborhood councils need to be able to operate. If that is, so the through line is, if there's a basic contradiction, which at this point in 5 years of observing, I kind of think there is, that the city is asking for neighborhood councils to step up and to hold the city accountable and to critique the level of services we provide, but we also control the purse strings, and we also have the oversight using civil servants to kind of take our bureaucratic rules and impose them on neighborhood councils. There's a certain internal contradiction in doing that. If we could provide those services with one step removed through nonprofit incubators to provide the support for the neighborhood councils, it is less of an internal contradiction about how the city is supposed to be interacting with a group of residents of the city that are supposed to be holding the city accountable. So there's a concept, and that was the proposal. It's quite honestly a proposal that was strongly brought to us by a number of the budget advocates as well, which is that we want to not expect civil servants to be able to support us. We actually think a lot of those support services should be contracted out and should be at arm's length distance from the city's bureaucracy and civil service structure. So that's the concept, and there's one department that actually is what they do is work with the nonprofit world, which was CDD. So that was the concept inside of the consolidation, right? That idea is still, it's not a dead idea. I think it's a important conversation for people who are honest about how well civil servants can in fact support the continued development of neighborhood councils. I think that is a valid line of inquiry that really needs to have a deep, robust conversation. So that's a conversation that will continue to come towards you from the mayor's office as a possible solution of one of the key issues that I think is central to the future of neighborhood councils. I'd say the third conversation is sort of exemplified by the mayor's office attempt to have a deeper conversation with budget advocates, I think 7 of whom are here today. How do you have a deeper conversation? Because if you want to have a conversation with neighborhood councils as a whole, you go, you know, and you do it, you all come, or you go to all the different alliances, which I think is clearly was the next step in the conversation, or you have some kind of delegated body. The only delegated body that we had was the body around the budget. But as soon as you do that, then you have the question about why are you meeting with them and not with us? How do you have a full, robust conversation? And so that the through line, I think the through line you're going to see from Krikorian's office coming as a series of questions is to what extent can there be a delegated leadership body? I'd say the Lancc is as close as we get, but it's obviously still not representative, and you'd have some parts of the city, you know, that feel that they don't have their chance to feel fully connected to any of the alliances. So is there a way to have a fully delegated leadership structure for the neighborhood councils so that there can be some kind of way to have a deep and prolonged conversation about a number of issues, you know, as it goes forward? I'd say those are the 3 through lines that, you know, I think go to the heart of some of the work that we've all been trying to figure out, all been trying to do, everybody's been working on. Everybody here probably has an opinion, but I just say them again, just for you to hear them, and I think that is part of the nature of the engagement as it goes forward. Right, so our neighborhood councils, are they, you know, entities of the city?
Yes,
Yes.
the vote is.
The answer is yes. Are they also startup neighborhood nonprofits?
No.
Well, you know, you can say no.
Sorry to disappoint.
Right? Yeah. But if you are, you know, part of the city, then what happens is all of the city's bureaucracy, right? Right.
We learned how to deal with all that.
We've got it already.